following video is not made for kids. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello to my subscribers, this is the TFN coming to you with hopefully be a successful review. And tonight we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers figure I was originally going to pass on entirely, but after I got the figure that I reviewed on my last video, which was Transformers Shatterglass Soundwave, I figured, why not get Shatterglass Soundwave, his rival? And so here is Transformers Shatterglass Autobot Blaster with his cassette tape Autobot Rewind. Now, it's been announced that at Kingdom Blaster, in addition to being repainted into his Shatterglass counterpart, he's also been repainted into Twincast for Legacy Evolution line. I actually got Twincast from eBay a few weeks ago, and Twincast comes with the non-Shatterglass version of Rewind, so I will try and remember to bring Rewind out when I eventually get to Twincast here, but for now, here is Transformers Shatterglass Blaster in all his evil Shatterglass universe splendor and glory. There he's inside the box. It's kind of hard to tell what his face looks like because it's black with a silver helmet, and that's the main paint job here with Shatterglass Blaster, is that he's gray, black, and navy blue with light gray for his light blue for his chest window, and the plastic is a clear red plastic, but they're inside the box. My camera's making it difficult to see those colors there, but yeah, it's the opposite of almost the opposite of Shatterglass Soundwave, where his mostly white paint job makes him look very friendly looking, but it's also the opposite of his non-Shatterglass the G1 version of Blaster with his bright red, beige, and yellow paint job. He looks like a friendly robot, while this guy looks like a not-so-friendly robot. But you get the idea there. So here's some artwork of Shatterglass Blaster. Here he's actually holding his laser gun at something. I wish they would have included Rewind in the artwork, but I guess they figured there was no need for it. Got the same artwork here on the other side of the box. Got a close-up there of Shatterglass Blaster's head. Master's face. You got the Transformers Shatterglass logo here on top. And again, the Shatterglass symbol right here, where it's a parallel universe where the Autobots are evil and the Decepticons are good, and it does not get any more chaotic than the Shatterglass universe does. So here you got some product photos on the back of the box. You got Shatterglass Blaster in his robot mode and in his cassette player mode. Or rather, it's a boombox mode is what Blaster transforms into. Transforms back and forth between both modes in 20 steps. And then here is Shatterglass Rewind. You got him in his robot mode and his tape deck mode, and he transforms back and forth between both modes in 8 steps. A lot of Transformers fans and collectors were hoping that maybe the Shatterglass version of Eject might come with Shatterglass Blaster, since the non-Shatterglass version of Eject is what you get with Generation 1 Blaster, who was released in both the Kingdom and Legacy Year 1 lines. And so it was a real surprise when it was announced that Rewind is in fact the Shatterglass tape that comes with SG Blaster. His bio reads, Blaster specializes as the communications expert for the Autobots. He has the ability to harness Earth's classical music as a sonic weapon to unleash on his enemies. So yes, unlike Generation 1 Blaster, who basically back in the 1980s, he listened to the most recent style of music that was popular in the 1980s, which was rock and roll music. Shatterglass Blaster relies on classical orchestra music to stun his enemies. Classical music, unfortunately, isn't as popular today in the 2020s as it was compared to even back in the 1980s when the Transformers franchise started. Classical music could still be found with large groups of people enjoying it, but I do like the idea of an evil Transformer who specializes in music and sonic warfare, relying on classical orchestra music to try and torture his enemies. And another reason why I wanted to get Shatterglass Blaster, in addition to standing as an opposite rival to Shatterglass Soundwave, was because I looked around at my collection of Shatterglass Autobots and I realized that they were lacking in numbers, especially since I got Shatterglass Soundwave and the Shatterglass Decepticons. They're all Voyager class figures, and so I wanted to boost the Autobots ranks by getting at least one more large-sized Shatterglass Autobot in my collection, and after finding Shatterglass Blaster at a decent price, I figured he would be the perfect evil Autobot to add to my Transformer Shatterglass collection. Without further delay, let's get this guy out of his box and take a closer look at him in robot mode. Alright, so before we take a look at Shatterglass Blaster, here is his partner in crime, Rewind. And for a quick size comparison, here he is next to Kingdom non-Shatterglass G1 Eject. And unfortunately, just like Eject, Shatterglass Rewind is made out of clear plastic. He does have notably less clear plastic than Eject does, because unlike Eject, his lower arms are made out of solid white plastic instead of being made out of clear plastic the way Ejects are. At least I think it is. Let me double check. Oh no, I was wrong. I can see the paint chipping on it well. So yeah, just like Eject, Shatterglass Rewind has clear plastic, but his lower arms have been painted entirely white. So yeah, it's white paint, not white plastic. So that's a bit of a letdown. Apologize for that pause in the video, but I had to check up on something. But yeah, here's Shatterglass Rewind next to Eject. He's made out of clear red. I don't know what type of shade of red this would be called. I guess it'd be considered like almost like a cross between crimson and burgundy red, but yeah, it's clear plastic regardless. So just like Eject, I advise you to use extreme caution when you transform this figure. So the transformation's easy enough. You just flip down the legs, fold out the arms, and then you can get it out. Now you can just rotate the head on the ball joint to drain it. So here's the Shatterglass version of Rewind in his robot mode. Again, I thought that was white plastic for a moment, but no, it's white paint all over his lower arms. So just like Eject, Shatterglass Rewind, he's almost made entirely out of clear plastic. The only parts of him that aren't clear plastic are his robot mode head, the back of his torso, and his upper legs. Those parts are made out of black plastic, and then the upper half of his arms between the shoulder and the elbow joint, like that piece connecting the fists to the rest of him, is made out of solid plastic. So why in the world these figures weren't made out of solid plastic is anyone's guess. Let's see if I can transform Eject really fast without breaking him. Last time I transformed Eject, I was afraid of it felt like maybe one of his arms or legs might pop off. So I've only transformed Eject a couple of times since I added him to my Transformers collection, and I'm feeling the same. I'm sensing the same erring on the same side of caution is necessary with Shatterglass Rewind. Excuse me for a second. Alright, I apologize for that, but Eject was proving a little difficult to transform. But yeah, here's Shatterglass Rewind next to Eject. Again, an evil Shatterglass Autobot versus a heroic Generation 1 Autobot. And I, too, wouldn't be surprised if the Shatterglass Autobots would ever enter the G1 universe. I wouldn't be surprised if the evil and heroic Autobots, if they would battle their doppelgangers out. But yeah, I really do enjoy how the robot mode, how it's accurate to the Generation 1 action figures, at least with the paint detailing in the chests. I don't know if the original Shatterglass Blaster figure that was a repaint of Generation 1 Blaster, it was released exclusively through BotCon, and I don't remember which evil cassette tapes it came with, so I don't know if this is the first ever action figure of Shatterglass Rewind, or if the original Generation 1 Shatterglass figure from the late 2000s had Rewind in the set as well. But yeah, there's Eject standing next to the figure repainted from him. And moving on from the cassettes, let's take a close look at Shatterglass Blaster himself. So here he is in all his splendor and glory. One thing I'm disappointed to see is that, I don't know if my camera's going to pick it up, but the navy blue plastic that's used on his thighs, it's super thin in on it, and so I can actually see through it. I thought it would have been clear plastic for one, but no, it's just so thin that there's light actually shining through it. The same is not true on the non-Shatterglass G1 version of Blaster that was released originally in the Kingdom line. And so just be aware that unlike Kingdom Blaster, Shatterglass Blaster, his hip joints right there where they're hollowed out, this part of the hip right here, where that sculpted indentation where that zigzag indentation is right there. It's such thin plastic that light is actually shining through it, so just be mindful that that is a part of the figure that could become extremely fragile, and the plastic could end up cracking right there. So that is a little discouraging, but urging. But worst case scenario, if you do end up breaking the thighs on the hips on Shatterglass Blaster, you could always buy a duplicate copy of Legacy/Kingdom Blaster and do a hip replacement if necessary. So there is that. So apart from the paint job, there's pretty much nothing to distinguish Shatterglass Blaster from Generation 1 Blaster. So if you were to spray paint these guys the exact same color, you'd end up with two look-alike figures. They have the same face sculpt. It's kind of hard for my camera to pick it up with Shatterglass Blaster with his face sculpt being covered in black paint, but yeah, he does have the same neutral expression that Kingdom Blaster has. The only difference is that the face is his face is black and his eyes are red, and then of course, even though his helmet is made entirely out of gray plastic, Shatterglass Blaster, he does have a silver head plate, like the way G1 Blaster does. The only difference is that it's a much darker, a gunmetal silvery gray than the bright silver used on G1 Blaster. Yeah, I'm really impressed with the paint job on this figure. There's that evil purple Shatterglass Autobot logo right there. And his main gimmick, just like Kingdom Blaster, is that you can push this button open and he can flip out, open his chest, and see if I can get rewind transformed back into cassette mode. As easy as simple as it is to get these cassettes transformed back and forth between robot mode and cassette mode. Again, the clear plastic Aztec, I'd be very careful with how you handle it, and I'd transform the figures very slowly. So Shatterglass Rewind, he is slightly more difficult to get into Shatterglass Blaster's chest than Eject is to get into Kingdom G1 Blaster's chest, but that's primarily, again, due to the white paint used on Rewind's lower arm. So there's Rewind inside of Shatterglass Blaster's chest. I really do enjoy that clear red plastic that's used there on the chest. You can see it's really nice there. I don't know what shade of red plastic it is. It's almost like a blood red clear plastic there. But I do enjoy the paint job on this figure. The only parts that are black, that are made out of black plastic on a Shatterglass Blaster, are his hips at the pelvis, his lower legs, and the button used here that opens his chest door. The legs, the thighs, and the cassette button that opens his chest. Those are the only parts that are made out of black plastic. All these other parts that look like black plastic because my camera's distorting the color a little bit, those are all navy blue. His fists are navy blue. The laser gun is navy blue. The elbow joints are, I believe it's gray plastic like the rest of the arms. It's just covered in a layer of navy blue paint. And these the thigh joints, which I kept calling hips a while ago. So be careful of those. Those are navy blue. And then the handle for the boombox mode, and also his robot mode feet, and then the loudspeakers here on his legs. Those are all navy blue. My camera's kind of sort of picking up the navy blue plastic from the black if I angle the figure like that there. So yeah, there's the really enjoy this mostly silvery gray with black and navy blue paint job that's used here on Shatterglass Blaster. Articulation's the same as it is on Kingdom Blaster. Head's on a ball joint so he can look left and right 360 degrees. The arms can rotate at the shoulder 360 degrees clockwise and counterclockwise. The arms have the potential to spin at the bicep 360 degrees in both directions. Hinge joint at the elbow joint, which has slightly more than 90 degrees to it. No articulation in the wrists due to how they transform. Waist swivel, so the figure can rotate clockwise and counterclockwise 360 degrees. The legs can go forward this far, but they can only go back this far with the back skirt or it being lowered up. So if you lower the back skirt out of the way, the leg can go back that far. The legs have the potential to spin in at the thigh 160 degrees clockwise and counterclockwise, 90-degree bend at the knees, ease in. The toes can't really angle down, and we're due to how they transform up and down and out of the lower legs for boombox mode. But he does have ankle rockers, so you can get the figure into a sprawl-legged pose if you want. You can have him do splits if you want on there. It's the same articulation that was used on Kingdom Blaster. So again, the only distinction between these two figures are the different paint jobs used on them. But I do enjoy them. I do think having Shatterglass Blaster be mostly gray and navy blue, it does distinguish him quite effectively from Generation 1 Blaster with his mostly red and beige gray paint job that he has. And for another size comparison in robot mode here, again, the main reason I got Shatterglass Blaster was for him to stand opposite his rival Shatterglass Soundwave. So here are the Shatterglass Universe counterparts for the Transformers DJs, the Maestros, the Music Masters, the lovers of everything new music from the Shatterglass Universe. And so I really enjoy these Shatterglass counterparts of versions of Soundwave and Blaster standing beside each other. And yeah, they can really go into some very into some very deadly sonic warfare between the pair of them. So I babbled on long enough, so without further delay, let's get this figure transformed into the boombox mode and wrap up the review. Alright, and so here is Shatterglass Blaster transformed into his boombox mode. Again, it's for the paint job of mostly gray with navy blue and light blue on the cassette door. It's a pretty nice looking boombox. Got the same features as Blaster, where the boombox handle can go down this far, but unfortunately it can't go down any farther. And you do have storage space for the laser gun here on the back. That's the official storage space. But one thing you can do if you want, just to try and make the figure a robot in disguise, is you can have the laser gun stored here on one of the 5mm ports here on the back. And from the front, it looks like there's an antenna sticking out of the back of the radio. So you can do that if you want the figure to try and be more of a robot in disguise in that regard. The chest door gimmick still opens. Again, Shatterglass Rewind's a little thick with those lower arms covered in white paint. But it does the job very effectively. Yeah, the same paint layout is the exact same as it is on Kingdom G1 Blaster. The only difference is the colors. All the parts on G1 Blaster that are black, all the knobs, buttons, and dials, they're all whereas on G1 Blaster, they're all black. Here on Shatterglass Blaster, those parts are all gunmetal gray. It's kind of hard for my camera from a distance to pick up the gunmetal gray from the light gray used on the center of the boombox. But yes, I'm really impressed with how distinctive a paint job Shatterglass Blaster has from his non-Shatterglass G1 counterpart. And for another special size comparison, here he is next to his rival Shatterglass Soundwave in his alt mode of a cassette player. So it's really nice seeing these guys standing next to each other. Aesthetically, Soundwave and Blaster, they're two of the Transformers characters where you primarily get them for nostalgia of the characters and enjoyment of having them in your standing beside other Transformers action figures, because when you transform them into their alt modes of a cassette player and a boombox, because they don't actually function, you're getting, when you buy these figures, you're buying Transformers action figures whose alternate modes are plastic boxes. So aesthetically, there isn't much play value to them other than trying to be a robot in disguise by being a robot that transforms into a handheld object. So that's been one of the make it or break it deals with Blaster and Soundwave. But regardless, I do not regret adding this figure to my Transformers collection, because I do enjoy how Shatterglass Blaster turned out. So for the final question of the review, do I recommend getting Shatterglass Blaster and adding him to your Transformers collection? Well, I only recommend you get this figure if you're a fan of the Shatterglass universe, if you're a fan of Blaster, and if you're a fan of Shatterglass Soundwave, and if you already have Shatterglass Soundwave in your collection, then I do recommend you get Blaster to rival him. If you don't have Shatterglass Soundwave in your collection, then Action, and if you're not too much of a fan of Blaster as a Transformers character and you aren't um, into the Transformers Shatterglass as storyline, then this figure here is an easy path. As again, as I said at the start of the review, I was going to pass on this figure entirely, but when I was looking to expand my Transformers Shatterglass collection, Blaster was one of the figures that I found at a very reasonable price that I couldn't pass up. So again, if you aren't into the Shatterglass storyline, then this figure is an easy pass. It's not a pass. It's one of the. It's not necessarily one of the must-have figures of the Shatterglass line. But for what it does, being an evil version of Blaster, I think the designers at Hasbro and Takara managed to make this figure a successful repaint of Kingdom Blaster. Thank you guys all so much for watching. This has been the TFangy. This is my review of Transformers Shatterglass Blaster. I recommend you get this figure if you're a fan of the Shatterglass series and if you're a fan of Blaster. If not, then this figure can be a pass, but for me personally, I do not regret adding it to my collection. So thank you guys all so much for watching, and until next time, you guys stay safe, stay healthy, transform and roll out. Goodbye, everyone.